everybody? It's Monica Simpson here at Sister Song, and we are here on the third stop on the road to Essence in Detroit. What up, though? We had an amazing day full of fantastic conversations. We are continuing to build power at the intersections. We talked about tech. We talked about storytelling. We talked about the power of Black women organizing, political power, reproductive justice, economic justice. Everything came together with incredible speakers spanning from organizations like the Black Women's Roundtable to the Spill app to the Playbook app. Oh my God, and we cannot forget about those who are based here in Detroit with Mothering Justice. It was phenomenal. Also, we got to talk to one of the executive producers of the film, The Perfect Neighbor. You all, I'm telling you, Detroit showed up and showed out. And we ended the day with Tidra Moses live and in full color for us. Detroit knows how to do it. We love the third stop on the road to Essence. Let's keep it going. A Black woman featured film about very important issues making its way to the Oscar stage. It was amazing. And we have one of the executive producers of that film here today. So we're going to welcome Takima Robinson to the stage to give us a few moments to talk about The Perfect Neighbor. Y'all give her a round of applause.
I didn't know it.
Yes. You in the middle. Do you have it? Is it working? Something is coming through. Okay, cool. So we will share. How about that? Amazing. Takima, I'm really excited that you are here. You have been doing powerful work for many, many years in the social justice field, not only around the work itself, but also in helping to fund in a very revolutionary way the way that we do the work, and you're bringing both things together in this partnership that is the film on one side and also the Standing in the Gap Fund as well. So can you just help the people understand who may not have seen it, which I don't see how they may not have, because it definitely made its way through Netflix and on the way to the Oscar stage, but help us understand this film, The Perfect Neighbor, and why discussions around what happened in that film are important right now.
Thank you. Yeah. Hi, Detroit. Good to see you. So many beautiful Black and brown people in this room. Thank you for being here with us. Again, my name is Takima Robinson. I'm one of the executive producers of The Perfect Neighbor on Netflix. How many folks have seen the film? All right. It's a hard watch, right? It's a hard watch. So I just kind of want to take you a little bit back in time. In 2023, I received a phone call early on a Saturday morning from my sister that her best friend, Ajika Owens, had been murdered. Ajika actually lived in my sister's former apartment, right? And so I was familiar with the landscape of the incident. My nephews played in the same spaces that Ajika's sons played in. And so as I was hearing my sister weep and wail, the first thing I thought was, like we would with any of our family members, what can I do? I've been blessed to be in this work for a very long time with sister friends like Monica. And the first person I called was Latasha Brown, who many of us know from Black Voters Matter, who's been a big sister to me in movement work for a very long time. And when I tell you, when you get that phone call from your little sister in distress, you know, you got to call your people. You have to tap on what I call the Underground Railroad of Black women. And folks really came to our rescue. And so this film started with a phone call from my sister in distress. We are excited the film has gone forward to not only gain an Academy Award nomination, but we broke the record at Netflix for the most watched documentary in Netflix history. And I just want to say that just once again, because this is a story about a Black girl. And I was not sure when we started this film that anyone was going to care. It took our good sister friend, Joy Reid, through that Underground Railroad of Black women to even break the news that Ajika had passed. There wasn't even a local news clipping that entire weekend. When we contacted the sheriff's office, we were told we would get no more information until Monday because they only worked Monday through Friday. Okay, and so for those of you all who don't know, Ajika's life was taken by her racist white neighbor, Susan Lawrence, who went on to receive 25 years for manslaughter, but she also was not arrested for the first 5 days. right? Because this murder occurred in Florida. And Florida, as we know through Trayvon Martin, has a heinous law called Stand Your Ground. And Susan Lawrence not only stood behind that law, but we found out that weeks before the murder, she had done a search history. In her search history, that she had searched for stand your ground defense. Okay, so this movie and everything that we have done has started with, again, the phone call from my sister, and it was all about trying to cover our sister, Ajika Owens, and her 4 babies. One who was standing next to her when she lost her life through a bullet through a locked metal door. Okay, and so that was our entire impetus behind this film. I'm proud to say that the lion's share of the profit that we got from Netflix went to take care of her 4 babies. That's why we did this. Second of all, we wanted to use and elevate Ajika's story to talk about what happens when folks are emboldened by racist vigilante law. We know where Stand Your Ground comes from. And I think, it's also important just to talk about, to make space for these stories, because we know it could have been any one of us, right? If someone assaulted your child, the next thing you're going to go do is going to go and confront the adult to find out what's happening. And because of that, she lost her life. One of the things I just want to say thank you to is Sister Song for your partnership. And again, I know we're going to be talking today about intersectionality. Well, AJ dies at the intersection of race, of gender, and of poverty, and of racialized violence in our country. And so I'm really proud to have produced this film and have it out in the world, and to be making impact with her story.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that, Sakima. And I also just want to talk about the connection to Essence, right? Because that same year that we lost Ajika, at the Essence Festival of Culture, through the Global Black Economic Forum, really holding down the social justice work within the Essence Festival itself, Sister Song was able to work with the Global Black Economic Forum to help bring Kamala Harris at the time to the festival to have the first ever conversation on reproductive freedom in this country at the Essence Festival of Culture. But one of the storylines and one of the very important things that we uplifted was Ajika's story. So not only did we have the champions like Joy Reid making sure that the masses could hear it on the news, we had the Vice President of the United States at that time also addressing it, and having Essence as a backdrop to also bring this story to the forefront. So the connections are deep and real. Before we bring out the rest of the panel, I just want us to, we wanted to frame and start this conversation this way today, because the month of April has been hard, y'all, for Black women in particular. We have lost at least 7 or 8 Black women that we know of to femicide. We have lost children, right? The rise of patriarchy and sexism in this country, and Alfonso, you talked about this so powerfully in Brooklyn at the Brooklyn stop. It is something that we have to be very serious about. And this film, although very much focused on the racial and gender and the poverty part of this, it still is a representation of how unsafe Black women are in this country on so many fronts. And so if there's one thing that you want this film to do for communities, what is that thing that you want it to do, and how do you want the folks in the audience to understand that and to help move that message?
Well, it is a hard film to watch, and I always want to give people a bit of a trigger warning before you go and watch it. You need time, you need space. It will move you. But what's actually interesting to me about the film is that, first of all, it's 90% body cam footage. And we actually obtained that body cam footage because our initial purpose was to use that to file for DOJ charges. And we were actually working with the Vice President's office behind the scenes to do that. Unfortunately, the election didn't go our way. But what's interesting about this film is that you are watching this unfold. You are watching this slow train wreck of racism that leads to Ajika's death on that night. But the film, to me, is actually not really violent. The film is actually really sad. And it forces us to sit in our humanity. And when we hear her children talk about and be told that their mother is not coming back, you witness it. You watch her son talk about how his heart is broken. Yeah. And I think for me, what I want folks to do is I want folks to really be hit in the face with the impact the impact of this loss. We have been desensitized, whether it's through video games or through media or whatever, to violence. But often we are not set to deal with the aftermath and the impact. And so this is, the loss of AJ is something that affects her children, her mother, the people who loved her every single day. And I'm sure I'm talking to folks here in this room who have also lost loved ones to violence. And so for me, it was about having us witness that, right, to make us do something different. And so that's really the goal there. We've started, along with her mother, we've started a fund called Standing in the Gap to support families impacted by racial violence. If you're interested in learning more, you can visit us at standinginthe.gap.fund.org.
Y'all please give a round of applause to Takima Robinson, please. And as we're doing that, we're going to invite the rest of the panelists up to join us on stage. So please make your way to the stage, and y'all give them a round of applause as they make their way in. And let's greet them, y'all. Come on in, y'all. Thank you. Come on, babies. Y'all can keep that hand clap going. Y'all clap longer than that on the dance floor. Yes. Yeah. I'm gonna scoot down once. Y'all can go in. You can sit wherever you want. And Alfonso, we need a chair for Alfonso.
Be right behind you.
Are we gonna do it? Okay. We got it.
No, we're good.
We're good. Okay, let's have a seat, y'all. Have a seat, babe. Amazing.
We improvise.
I like you sitting right here. This is actually kind of cute. Okay. Thank y'all for joining us, panel. Thank y'all for hearing us, audience. We're going to get started. So these conversations on the road to Essence have been so powerful. We've been in Charlotte, North Carolina. We have been now in Brooklyn, New York at the Loves Club. We had a really good time. And in every city, the conversation gets deeper and richer and even more engaging as we are really talking about so many different conversation pieces that are happening at people's, dinner tables. It's happening at the brunch table. It's happening with your sister girl or your brother friends on the phone, because people are getting that we're in a time right now that requires a different type of thinking and a different type of organizing, right? We are not privileged at this moment to only work within our silos or only work within our particular areas and sectors. We have to be doing this work together, right? And all of you have such great examples of how you do that work across the different areas that you work in. So to ground us today, before I give you your individualized questions to let the folks know what you do and how you do, in the spirit of this theme of building power at the intersections, why is it important for you and how you do your work and how you show up in the world for intersectionality to not just be a theory, which is an important theory that you all should know if you don't know, coined by Kimberly Crenshaw, who has a whole canon of work of what intersectionality is all about, so check that. But why is it important for us to truly lean into and organize and move from an intersectional perspective, not just in theory, but in practice? Why is it important in particular in these times from your particular vantage point? I'm going to move it down the aisle here. And while you do that, please introduce yourselves to the audience. Yes.
Well, hello. Thank you so much for having me, Monica and Alfonso. What's up, y'all? Detroit. In the building. I'm so excited to be here. I haven't been to Detroit since I was a little kid, so this is dope. Thank y'all for the warm welcome. My name is Kenya. First name Kenya, last name Parham. I serve as the Chief Growth Officer of the two-time Apple App of the Day, award-winning Black-owned social platform called Spill. Very, very proud of the work that we're doing. My career journey to getting to Spill has existed at 3 different intersections. Started off at politics, then it went into media, and then it went into tech. What I'm most interested in is figuring out who gets to tell our stories, and once we're telling those stories, who is positioned to benefit from the gains of when our culture sweeps the world as it always does. Are we adequately positioned to be credited for those contributions? And most importantly, what does that compensation look like? Because if it don't make dollars, it don't make hello. Say that. Okay. What I've learned about this work. So I'm somebody who was not technically trained to be in this space, but recognized that my journey to becoming a tech executive was because of a transferable skill set, something that I think is so important for Black women in particular to understand the value of at this time. You can go and build that thing in a career or in a field that you had never populated before, as long as you recognize the value of what you bring to the table and quantify that when you get to those spaces. So that intersectionality is super important. But we have to understand, right, that like the care that we bring to all of the spaces that we occupy is infrastructure in itself. And intersectionality is just a series of small decisions. So it's important for me when I come to my work to say, how can I make a decision right now to incorporate my sister Monica in the work that Sister Song is doing for the first time on a social platform? It may have never been done before, but guess what? We doing it, and a year later, now we streaming the Sister Song documentary in an app, right? So you can create those spaces for intersectionality to exist, even if it's never been done before. It's just a series of small decisions, and that infrastructure is what we need, particularly now more than ever before.
All right. Well, you all have heard my introduction, but I think I just want to share little thoughts about intersectionality. First of all, Dr. Karen Crenshaw has a new book out, right? Back Talkers. She's on tour, so we should all support and check her out. As the architect of this theory. But as I understand it, we are whole people. We are whole people. We are not a homogenous people. Each one of us has different experiences, different interests, different backgrounds. And often as Black folks, we get flattened, right? We get seen as a monolith. And so for me, when you're not thinking about us in an intersectional way, you're leaving parts of us behind. And you're actually not seeing our fullness. I actually was sharing with a sister the other day. I am many, many, many things. One of the things I am is a mother of a micro-preemie. I had a 24-weeker who is a pound. And so I share with many other Black women the story around maternal health, right? And so again, if you don't see me in all of my various facets, then you don't see me. And therefore, you can't care for me, you can't love me, you can't show up for me. And so for me, that's really what intersectionality means. It actually means seeing us and saving our lives.
Yeah, I have one. Does it work?
No.
You can hear me? Yeah? Okay. Hello, everyone. What up, though? Danielle Atkinson, the founding director of Mothering Justice with deep roots here in Michigan. And we are a multi-state organization that works on empowering and uplifting the voices of mothers of color. I use the term mother of color very intentionally because of intersectionality. It's a term perfected by Black women to talk about the potential political power that we have as a group, as the global majority. So it is not to at all have erasure around Black women. It is about it's talking specifically about the political power that we have together. I started Mothering Justice because of intersectionality, because Black women in particular, women of color in general, have such a specific, deep understanding of the problems of this country because we have been swimming through it every day, every generation, every iteration of our lives. And without understanding that complex knowledge set, you would just see some Black women, right? Like, oh, that's a very small group, and marginalize us even further. But when you understand intersectionality, you understand that we can speak on so many issues and so many populations because we understand all of the isms so intimately. And so to know and to operate under an understanding of how the multiplier effect of discriminations has an effect on your body and your life and your community is to understand how we can get our way out of it, right? And so I pray that we all can be intersectional artists and understand that this is the way for liberation, is to understand individually, collectively, and how it multiplies.
Brilliant. All right, good afternoon. What up, though? So Detroit is my second home. My wife graduated from Cass here. She's from the East Side, 6 Mile. Y'all are everywhere, technicians. So I'm so excited to be here. Thank you, Monica. Thank you all for being here. My name is Dr. Mosley. I usually just go by Mosley, like Beyonce or Prince. I am a counseling psychologist by trade and a licensed mental health provider. I'm also the CEO and founder of The Playbook. We're a mental health sports tech company. People are like, that is very strange. What does that mean? It means that we quantify mental health status using gamified psych assessments and emojis. So we're actually able to measure what matters. And when we think about the intersections, that's truly where innovation happens. And so on our end, it's thinking about how do we take care of ourselves? How do we use metrics? How do we use all of these things, this internal knowing that we have to have culturally responsive care? On my end, I also serve as a consulting psychologist across Olympic, college, and pro sports. So I consult for the NBA, the NFLPA, the Special Operations Wing of the U.S. Air Force, all of these kind of high-intensity, high-performance environments. And what we know about those areas, and the through line for me, is I'm from a family of veterans and psychologists and professional athletes, is that if we don't take care of ourselves, we don't show up to do the things that matter, and we don't get to take care of other people. And when we talk about black doesn't crack, that might be true, but we shatter from the inside. We can also rot from the inside. And so when you have the infrastructure, and we talk about a home, right? It can look gorgeous on the outside, but if you don't take care of the plumbing, if you do not take care of the electrical grid, right, it will literally destroy itself from the inside. And it is Mental Health Awareness Month. And we are in a really, really difficult moment when we are thinking about the mental health of our communities. The death by suicide rate of 10 to 24-year-olds is the second leading cause of death of all of these folks in terms of young people. Young boys, black boys, are 4 times more likely to die by suicide. Young black women are more likely to experience depression and anxiety and post-traumatic stress, right? And so on our end, it's how do we help you identify these warning signs of distress? How do we have more of these resources that reflect our experiences? And how do we make sure that we are co-creating these environments that are conducive to our overall well-being and our overall mental health?
I'm over here taking notes like I'm not sitting on the panel.
That's why we're here.
Hey, y'all, my name is Tamika Ramsey Brown, and I am the convener for Black Women's Roundtable Metro Detroit. Thank you. I would just like to say I was a summertime Detroit East Sider. Right. Okay. So I just want to say, when we talk about intersectionality, when I walk into a room, I cannot decide who's showing up first. Is the black? Is the woman? Is the mother? Is the wife? Like, what title? What hat am I wearing? I'm wearing all of them all the time. Right. When I do this work, these last couple of days, I have been doing them for great grandkids that have not even been born yet. Right? Because I know that my ancestors worked really hard to get us where we are now, right? Knowing that they would not reach the promised land. I have been talking about my grandmother. My family is from Mississippi. My mother and her siblings moved to Michigan in their teens. My mother moved to Pontiac. Her siblings moved to Detroit. And so I tell people I was raised old school South. And a lot of people, a lot of older people, when the Supreme Court just gutted the Voting Rights Act, a lot of my people, a lot of my family reacted in a way that I did not understand. And what one of my aunties told me after was, we know what it's like before. Right? There's a generation of people who know what it means to not have that. And it's a 2 generations, including mine, that does not understand. We know that it's going to be jacked up, but we just don't know how every day it is going to hurt our lives or impact our lives. I am the mother of a black son that went to a predominantly white school, where I've had locks, so I can't have them on the top of my head because I don't want to scare the white people. I have to watch what I wear, right? Because I know when I go into this school, I have to advocate for my son, but I am showing up as a black woman every single time. So when I'm talking about intersectionality, I tell people, they're like, oh, if you walk into a room of women, do you identify yourself as a woman first? No. I identify as Black first, right? Because we know because of the suffrage movement, we all together until we not, right?
Well,
And so being at the intersectionality, understanding that we're at the intersectionality, when these white women be like, let's put on these pink hats, and I'm like, but what is that going to do for my life or my quality of life? So the intersectionality, understanding it and living in it means, as someone said, that my entirety is represented, protected, looked after, and not just a portion of me. Thank you.
that's what I'm talking about. Listen, these some smart Black people, ain't it? Let me tell you. And I mean, wisdom drops just all across the panel. But one thing that really struck me from something that all of you said, right, is that our full humanity, the fullness of who we are, what it takes for us to be that, right, and safe, and able to like make our own decisions, and all of that comes back to the reproductive justice framework for me, which is why I am, this is why this is my movement home, but it's also why I feel like this framework is so important for this political moment that we're in. And for those who may be new to the reproductive justice movement, is a movement and framework that was created by Black women in 1994. And these Black women understood exactly what y'all were talking about, that we have to talk about the wholeness of who we are. And it was imperative for us to do that in an intersectional way, for us to root that in the human rights framework, and for us to be able to make our own decisions about our families, about our bodies, about our lives, and about our futures. And we define it at Sister Song as the human right to be able to have the children that we want in the ways that we want, to be able to prevent or end pregnancies without shame, but with dignity, to be able to parent the children that we have in healthy and safe environments, and ultimately the human right to bodily autonomy. And so the through line is real. But our dear sister Tamika just brought up this voting rights thing. And Alfonso, you a lawyer. You know, you do the law. You know, I mean, you do a lot, but you're a lawyer, right? And so we know that your work is rooted in the economic justice framework of a thing. But this voting rights thing is serious. And so what is this intersection that we're seeing here with like the attacks on our ability to have the economic futures that we want, and them making sure that they are trying to roll back every protection that we have had? How is this showing up, and what are you doing about it?
Let me just start by saying I'm very proud of being the only man on the stage with, in all seriousness, none of these women should be on the stage. Based on the challenges that they face for being Black women, they shouldn't be here. Shouldn't be here. And we should sit in that, because we often show up time after time after time, day after day after day, and we internalize the struggles and the challenges. What came out of their mouths was brilliant. But let's not forget the cost. And so I think it's important for us to sit there for a minute. The second is we're talking about intersectionality and how it's important for us to look at all of the issues that we face and how those issues are intersectional, and that's important, obviously. But let's also remember intersectionality works the other way as well. There is an attack on our bodies, whether we control our bodies. There is an attack on our voice, whether we are allowed to use our voice and in what ways. There's an attack on whether or not we have the ability to exist. And when you think about those three prisms, they're all connected. So, the Voting Rights Act was gutted. And I use the word gutted because we should remind ourselves that our ancestors died for us to be able to vote. And we know in many parts of this country, elected officials, members of the legislature, make it more difficult for people of color to vote. So I'll give you an example. Think of a state that's a square. And think of a circle, and in that circle is 80% of black people. And they have 80% of the voting power. And what states are doing is taking that 80% and breaking it up into 10% each, and then pushing it to the sides. So the 80% of voting power that you have is now diluted. Yes, you can vote, but your vote doesn't have the impact and the power that it once did. Now, why are they interested in doing that? They're interested in doing that in order to strip you of the power that you have. Just like they want to strip every woman on the stage of the power that they have over their bodies. And if we think that is only limited to women, for us men, we need to wake up. This is not just about controlling a woman's body. This is about whether or not we have the ability to have children, have families, control our families, participate in an economy, and actually grow. So I'm going to connect the last dot for you. If you own a business and you want to participate in this economy, they acknowledge that you face discrimination as a black-owned business, but they want to take away the solution to fix that problem. In Texas, we just filed a lawsuit. The state of Texas, through their state controller, passed a regulation to essentially remove every single business owned by a woman and every business owned by a person of color from the certification. In the 1990s, the legislature passed a law, and they said, look, black and brown businesses and women-owned businesses are having difficulty getting contracts with the state. So we're going to pass a law to certify these businesses to make it, to open up opportunities for women and for people of color to get contracts. In the 1990s, the law was passed, signed by George W. Bush. Fast forward, 35 years later, the controller said, oh, that's a DEI law. So I'm going to issue regulations, and I'm going to strike out the word woman. I'm going to strike out black American, Hispanic American, Native American, Asian American. And I'm going to limit this program to service-disabled veterans who happen to be primarily white men. More than $4 billion in contracts are now at risk. So when we're talking about controlling our bodies, we're talking about our voice and whether or not our voice can be heard at the ballot box. We also talk about whether or not we can be economically viable, whether or not we can sustain ourselves in an economy. This is all connected. So when you think about intersectionality and how we need to think about looking at these issues through the lens of empowerment and empowerment, also think about how they are looking at all of these things being connected to oppress you, to oppress your voice, to take away your right to control your body and your ability to actually succeed economically. What are we doing? We're fighting back, we're suing in court, and we have to make sure that people understand they cannot take away your voice. They cannot take away your power. They can make it more difficult for you to exercise your power, but they can't seize it.
Thank you, Alfonso. Now, we have just one question for each of these folks to get ready to wrap this down. But before I go to them, I just want to come to y'all for a minute because y'all in this with us. Like, we're not just talking at you. Like, we end this conversation with you. So give me some words that you just heard that resonated with you when we talked about like the importance of intersectionality in this moment. What came up for you? What'd you hear? Say it again. Power, absolutely. When we build power with intersections, we actually build more power. What else came up? Sovereignty. Come on, I love that word too, 100%. Like, we don't use that word enough in my opinion, but sovereignty, like really being able to have the autonomy to make our own decisions, to be able to do that in our own power, 100%. What else came up? Say it again. Code switching, baby. That's a thing, right? We got to be real about that and how sometimes people do that to save their life, but also just like the traumatic impact of what that means for us as Black folks in particular. What were you about to say, sis? Yeah, camaraderie, right? Like intersectionality requires us to be in this thing, in communication, deeply connected with each other and building those relationships and building that trust, right? So these are really, really powerful things. Now, I'm going to come to you, my dear sister, from the D and representing this area, Danielle. Grassroots organizing often holds communities together in spaces where institutions have failed us, right? And so how do you build and sustain women-centered leadership ecosystems that are responsive to the most impacted? And what does it look like when care, not crisis, becomes the organizing principle? How is that showing up in your work, sis?
Yeah. So I told the story a few days ago, or I asked the question. I said, what if the most brilliant person you know came through the door, whether it be Bell Hooks or Jesus or Barack Obama, whoever your person is, right, came through the door, but they didn't necessarily speak your language and they had a whole bunch of stuff they were carrying. And you're like, someone said, you can ask them one question, go ahead for it. You would be like, let me take your bags. Let me find an interpreter. Let me get you a drink. What can I do to make you comfortable so I can unburden you so I can just have a second of your brilliance? That is how Mothering Justice approaches this work, right? When Black women come in, we're like, how? What do we need to do? Because we know that there is brilliance there, but they have all of this that they're carrying. So any act of mutual aid or kindness or care is first because we love them, and second because we know what can happen when they are unburdened. And then comes a process, right? And so we believe in a participatory process in all aspects of our organization, including how we pick our issues and how we run our campaigns. So our Mama's Agenda, economic stability issues that came from our base, Black maternal health, wages, leave issues, childcare, and basic needs. That came from them. So first and foremost. Second, how we go about cutting each issue campaign is a process of finding out what works in our environment, what works amongst our population, where the will is, and then we bring it to our membership and we say, please vote on this. We give them all the information. We translate it, right? So these are the 3 campaigns we have found that might work around childcare. This is what it would cost us politically. This is what it would take. These are the timelines, benchmarks. And we do that for all of the possibilities. And then we ask them to vote. We ask them, now, what do you want to put your energy behind? So that we are acknowledging all that it would take to win, including the work of a very tired person. And so that's how we do it.
I love this model, and it's so intentional, right? And what you're and how you're organizing. And I can only imagine what it feels like for someone to feel like I get just to take a breath and a pause in a world and a time where that feels impossible to do. Like that is intentionally built into your model of how you're moving community. And the impact is absolutely speaking for itself, right? Like I think that's really powerful. Now, you did ask us, like, if somebody famous came in the room, what would you ask? Now, if Jesus came in here, I would really have to ask him, like, how did he turn water into wine?
Yeah, and can we do it again?
If we could do it into other substances, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, is it only wine? Like, are there other things that we could
And does it have to be a wedding? Could it just be for every day?
Could it just be for at a time such as this? You know what I'm saying? I'm just curious, but that's just me. I did take so much more from what you said, but I did sit with that question of like, how can I have that ability?
How can you empower me to do that?
To do the same thing.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to now go to here we go. Tamika. How you doing, sis?
Good.
First of all, I love the Black Women's Roundtable. Y'all know what you're doing over there. Shout out to Melanie Campbell and the work that they are doing at the Black Women's Roundtable, the longest, most consistent organizing space for Black women, right, in this country. It is a major thing that you all are doing, and you have such an intentional model of how you're doing the work, too. So my question for you, my dear sis, Black women have consistently been the backbone of civic engagement while remaining among the most underserved by the systems that they help build. Could somebody say the 92%?
92.
Okay, all right. How do we move from mobilizing Black women as a political force to ensuring that political power actually translates into policy and resources that reflect their lived realities? What is the Black Women's Roundtable and y'all organizing telling us to do? Because these people is crazy out here. So how are we doing what we always do? But tell us from you all's perspective, how do we build that political power now?
Thank you for that question. First of all, weed is legal in Michigan, okay?
Weed is, I didn't want to say it. You know what I'm saying? But I know that they got it. You know what I'm saying? So
I will let you know.
we just want to make sure
Yes.
that Jesus went to a burning bush too. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I just want to, okay, all right. I'm going to keep it together.
You my
I'ma keep it
people,
together.
though. You my people.
Yeah.
So I think one of the first things, Black Women's Roundtable is very intentional on working or being a part of organizations that do the work. Mothering Justice, that's exactly how we bring women from survival to a political home. First of all, meeting the basic needs. When we went through Dumpy Dump first time, I got a text.
I love that. Dumpy, I'm not going to forget that. Dumpy Dump. Okay.
I got a text message with some Black women like, what are we going to do? Like, WTF? And I was like, we're here because our ancestors did not stop. Right? We are not here just because people have been actively trying to kill all of our asses since the beginning of time, right?
Say it again.
So we have to take care of the basic needs of anybody. I said we are going to start back organizing in the style of the Black Panthers because we knew how to do it until funders kept telling us we just need names and numbers. No, we need to organize in basements and churches.
That's right.
In our kitchen.
That's right.
Right? So we need to be there. But once again, I think it is helping people to understand the connection of policies in their daily life.
That's right.
Right? When we were talking about the census in 2020 and people like, I don't know. And then COVID hit us and people are like, we didn't get resources. Well, your resources are tied to census count. Right? So once again, when people understand how policies are, but I am the first person like, I hate politics. I don't have forever enemies. I don't have forever friends and I'm petty AF.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't like being, I don't like being political, but I am a part of politics, right? Because when you can govern my hair, there are some states in this country that I could get fired or not hired just because of my hair. Right? People say, oh, we're free. You got people telling me what I could do with my vagina. That's not free. So how can we have any type of freedom when people's bodies are governed? That's called slavery, right? So it is important that we not say we're not political. I don't like politics. I watch the House of Cards. That shit is real, right? I be scared every day coming to work sometimes. Like, am I going to get taken out? But I have to be political because I got kids and I have grandkids that require me to continue to fight. And we see that these other people, they don't stop. They don't stop. We had Roe v. Wade, and they said, oh, okay, check this out. 60 years later, it's gone. Right? The Voting Rights Act. They said, oh, check this out. We gonna wait until y'all get tired or over there celebrating, having a good time for damn Juneteenth. Because that's the whole damn holiday. Instead of giving us the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, they gave us Juneteenth, but okay. Right? And they gonna cut that too. So it's like, what will my children or grandchildren have that my mother didn't have?
That's right.
We have to make sure that we are meeting people where they are and helping them to understand the connection of their quality of life in politics, and then getting the people in front of them that are responsible for making those votes that are either helping them or trying to take away their lives.
Absolutely. Come through. The House of Cards should have got another season. But also, I think it's important for people to understand something that you said that was so powerful to me. And this notion of I'm not political. This notion of, oh my God, the systems are so toe up. It don't matter if we do it anyway. This is exactly the energy they want us to be on, right? They want to put so much pressure and they want to build so much energy of apathy and so much energy of just like, we don't give a fuck, right? But we do. But they want to build that because then that makes us very like palatable, like we can start to be molded in a particular kind of way. But you said some important things. We lost Roe v. Wade, right? I know that the abortion conversation in the Black community ain't always the easiest one, right? But what we do know is that we should be able to make our own decisions about our bodies, right? And if they can take that away, then what else can they do? And they've cut out this, gutted, as Alfonso said, this Voting Rights Act because they're trying to diminish our power. But what you just laid out for us is the energy that the folks need to be on, that we're not just thinking about right now, we're thinking about the generations that are to come. So thank you for the work that you're doing with the Black Women's Roundtable and beyond, right? This light has to be on for a purpose. The light is on for a purpose. It's very bright. Okay, cool. All right. Cool beans. Y'all know my eyes are not that good. Okay. So Kenya, you came up on stage just a little bit ago because right now, like in real time, you're working still. You're working because the first ever film festival in an app is happening.
Yeah.
Talk about the power of culture shift in real time.
Well, this is so. First of all, I feel you on the taking notes thing, because as I'm over here communicating with my team in real time, I'm also absorbing all of the gems that y'all are giving, and it's amazing. When the political institutions that fail to recognize our wholeness, keep us safe, acknowledge our contributions, when they fail us, the advantage that we have in the year of our Lord 2026 is digital infrastructure becomes the place, capital THE, for us to mobilize, organize, right? And remember each other in real time. That's why one of the things that we're doing at Spill is quite literally creating culturally competent systems of safety in tech, so that when you gather or meet new people online or connect with a mentor or share an idea for a book that you might have, you don't have to worry about fighting for your life in the comments, right? Being called out your name, somebody taking credit for your work that you haven't, right? Harm, right? Happening. We've got over almost 3 years worth of data that says that we've got 66% less hate speech and harassment by volume than any other social platform on the internet. And these other places like Meta will tell you, oh, it's too complicated to do. We can't find a way to prioritize keeping you safe. Or woman is now a bad word, right? So we're just not gonna moderate against comments around women. They'll try to make it seem like it's that complicated, except the beautiful part about bringing intersectionality into our work, it means that we get to say, not only am I gonna write these policies that's gonna keep the platform safe, but then the enforcement of those things is done so with a team of human beings using technology who come from the communities that they are moderating for, so that nuance is at the top, right? That nuance is present. And so then we don't have to think about having our fists balled up, defending ourselves. We actually get to just build. Imagine that, right? Imagine that space in digital. And it's so important because Black trans women receive the most hate and harassment than any other subdemographic in the entire world, y'all. And Black women over-index in our usage of social media than any other demographic as well. We're also the most educated. So when you start to add these data points up, we have to start being more strategic about how we're using digital interfaces to extend our opportunities to combat in real time what is happening on the policy side, right? Yes, it is absolutely gutting and horrible, but we've got digital now, y'all. Yeah. My aunties and my grandparents, they didn't have that. That's right. They was figuring out ways without AI and digital infrastructure that they could code, and creating safe spaces and vibe coding and all of these really dope things, right? So it's important that we remember that we have solutions that are actually in play now, and it takes our collective and cultural discipline and how we shift our attention to those spaces so that we can continue the good fight, because it must continue.
100%. How many folks have already got on that spill app since you've been up in here? Everybody? If your hand ain't up, you can get in on it, because we want everybody up in here before we leave to be on this spill app. You on there? You getting it right now? Thank you. You on there? Okay, that's what's up. The film festival going on. Now, don't be too much in there. I might look at it, but listen to the black people at the same time, okay? All right. Dr. Mosley, I'm making my way to you. Through all of these cards that my amazing team has given me, there's so many of them. There we are. Dr. Mosley, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, Wendy, I'm sorry. Okay. I think it's important in this moment. You said, as we were going through our first question, that we're in the month that we are supposed to be paying attention to what is happening around our mental health in particular. And you gave us some major statistics as you laid it out for us. And the way that you have created a platform, but also this really interesting business model that gives us the ability to think about tech and mental health, and also working directly with high performing individuals, is something that I am just like in awe of every single time we have a conversation.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. But for the Black folks in the world right now who are navigating compounding stressors across race, gender, class, and health, what does healing actually require? And how do we build ecosystems where that healing is possible rather than just it being a luxury for some?
That is a huge question.
It's so big.
And what I love about it, and I love, can you really tee this up in a really beautiful way? We have so many, we talk about often that there are generational curses, but we have generational gifts. And this internal knowing, and we are collective people. We have always gathered and found ways to take care of ourselves. So when we're thinking about healing, we have to see our overall collective well-being as everybody's everyday work. So that means that when we are co-creating these systems, mental health is not an individual issue. It is a systemic one. It's a community one. It also means that we have to think about mental health differently and think about how we access care very differently. It has to be a part of the ecosystem. That also starts with having to know what you're looking for. I can't find something if I don't know what I'm looking for. So that means, what are the warning signs of distress? What does that look like? How do we get people access to resources? Thank you for naming the playbook as a platform. On our end, we have two unique users. It's the individual user, and then we have something called an admin user. That is whoever is control of the care model of a team or a group. Why it's important to be able to actually have metrics around mental health, like I said, we measure what matters, is because once you have scores, you have metrics, you can identify when people start going downhill or when they're not doing well. So just like when we're playing sports, we don't just, the Pistons, at least not this year, don't go out there and say, let's just see what happens and throw the ball up, right? Like there's a scoreboard, there's a strategy there, right? It's the same way. When we're thinking about mental health, we have to have quantifiable metrics to monitor and track in the same way that we have biometric data and other things. So we know that, oh, we're in the danger zone, or I'm not doing so, or maybe I'm doing really well, right? So we track stress, well-being, and we call resilience bounce back. We're able to give you individual scores and overall scores in literally a matter of seconds, right? And the second part, which I said you can do that on the individual level, the second thing is that as soon as someone dips into what we call the red zone, which is where you want to be in football, it's not in our app, it means that your scores are in an unhealthy range, and it primes whoever the care provider is. They get an alert that says someone has dipped into the red zone, here's immediate recommendations on what to do, and we do that all privately within the platform because we're HIPAA compliant. So on our end, we also let individuals identify who are the people on your home team. So who are the people, when you are not doing well, that you want to reach out to you, or you want to be prompted to reach out to. They get notifications that says, hey, you're on Monica's home team. Check in on her sometimes, and she'll get a recommendation when her scores are low. Hey, check in with your mama and them, right? If they're on your home team. because we have to also democratize social support. We have to democratize support. We look out and not in sometimes. And so on our end, it's like, how do we help people identify when the people in their communities are not doing well? Often the first line of response or the phone calls that we get are, I'm worried about my mom or my dad or my sister or my brother or my sweetheart. I'm recognizing that they are not moving in the same ways they usually do. Something is wrong. Something is different, right? And for us, those things look different than what people have told us they look like because the standards around diagnoses were not normed around us. So we have to be really thoughtful about making sure that we are connecting with licensed, and I want to emphasize licensed mental health providers who look like us and also are able to show up and connect you to resources when they matter most. So we also have to know, again, there's a lot of stigma, but everybody has mental health. Mental health does not mean a mental health disorder or mental illness. We're all on a continuum. You have physical health, you have mental health, you have your well-being. We have to know that as a community, we have to take care of ourselves because that's what we deserve, and we can't get anywhere if we don't take care of our health. And so I want to be a resource as much as possible.
Yes, you
Appreciate being
are.
here. Oh, thank you.
Yes, come through Playbook. So y'all make sure you get your systems of wellness and support put together. There's a whole app created for you to be able to do that. There's a whole app that gets you connected to your people and builds ways for us to build not only just connection, but political power, right? Have one more question to Takima lastly. But I also got to say this about what you just said, because you emphasize licensed therapists. Now, I know we love our pastors and we love, you, am I going too far? Am I okay?
Go ahead.
Because I'm a church. I love the church. Praise them. But black folks, we deserve, right, to be able to have somebody that has went to school and read some things
And didn't just get an honorary doctorate.
and didn't just get we deserve that, okay? So for the pastors in the room, I'm not mad at you. We love you, and we're grateful. But I do think that was something that was really important for us to note, because we really don't. So I think that some folks may believe that they don't deserve to be able to go outside of their things, right? And to be able to access other services. And you're providing that for people to be able to have direct access to that. So just wanted to say that. Okay. When you don't have that, it's harm. Say that. Okay, last question for you, Takima, and then we got to get up off the stage because y'all ready to move to the joy part too, right? This is the liberation part, but you're ready for the joy part too, right? Okay, all right. So Takima, you told us all about The Perfect Neighbor, and folks who have not seen it, they're going to watch it, and we're going to continue to stay connected to Standing in the Gap Fund as well. But I think that one thing that I wanted us to just leave with on the stage today is that The Perfect Neighbor does is that it tells a powerful story. Right? It tells us a powerful story of Ajika, not only what unfortunately happened to her, but it gave us the ability to see who she was as a Black woman, as a mother, as a person in her community that was about supporting her community. Why is storytelling important right now?
Well, first of all, I think this goes back to the whole conversation around intersectionality. Ajika, like all of us, she was many things. She was multifaceted. She was a daughter. She was a mother. She was a friend. She was a woman of faith. She, was, working class. And so we get to see all of these layers come together in her story, although tragic. And so for me, storytelling is powerful because, yes, policy, frames the environment that we live in, but narrative tells us who we are. Narrative tells us things about one another. And oftentimes we're working inside of those narratives as we build community with one another, as we live our lives. And so I think storytelling is one of the most powerful mediums that we have. We are all living a story that America told us, right? About what it means to be Black. We're all living inside of that story. And this is why, storytelling to me is about liberation, especially when it's told for us and by us.
100%. this is why cultural strategies for us at Sister Song at the Global Black Economic Forum is so important. And we're grateful for the opportunity to like blend these worlds together through this amazing work of essence and just being able to like bring all the things together from liberation to joy work to all the things that make it possible for Black people to just be our Black ass selves. You know what I'm saying? So please make sure that you all are following these folks. Tamika, thank you, and all the work of the Black Women's Roundtable and what you're doing. Mosley, Dr. Mosley, thank you for the work of the playbook and all that you're doing. Danielle, thank you so much for mothering justice and taking care of our Black mamas and mothers of color. Takima, thank you for telling the hard stories, but making it possible for them to be seen and heard. And Kenya, thank you for breaking the ice as a Black woman in this tech field and bringing forth an app that is creating community for Black people in such a powerful way and giving us the ability to build our political power. And Alfonso, thank you for being my brother. And thank you so much for all the work that you continue to do to make sure that they get it. You know what I'm saying? Because you be giving it to them. You know what I'm saying? So we got lots of things coming, you all. Oh, y'all are so dope. Thank you. What I got, Shannon? We good? Okay, cool. We gotta go? Okay, great. Amazing. So we're getting ready to change this thing up because the Teacher Moses is about to hit the stage. But let me tell you something, Black people. You didn't come here by happenstance today. Let me tell you that. You came here because you knew it was going to be a good time and you wanted to support what was happening in Detroit. But I want you to leave with knowing that even though what's happening in this world right now is crazy and hard, know that you came here to this planet with a purpose. And if you are living in this moment and in this time, then you already have what you need inside of you to be an active agent to create the change that we need at this time. So not just these folks up here are doing this work. Each one of you have an opportunity, and each one of you are an important piece of this liberation journey that we're on. So please make sure that you're stepping into it with power, good people, because it's going to take all of us to get to the other side. Thank you all so much, and we're going to get ready for Teacher Moses, okay?